Welcome to Mic Check Waifu Waifu.
Mic check, waifu. King, tell him. Is that you?
It is, and we ready for a review.
This is episode 332 of Mic Check with Waifu. As always, it's brought to you by Patreon. Patreon.com/Mic Check Waifu is where you can get early access to the video version of this podcast. This is where you can get access to the pre-show, which this week, if you are a Patreon supporter, check out the pre-show. Really good conversation about Tales Top 100. It's going to be probably a topic proper one day, maybe even next week. It's going to be hard to probably fit that in though, because we got the start of the winter basically. But it's going to be a topic because that conversation was great. So if you have access to Patreon, support us for it at any tier, you get access to the pre-show, and that pre-show has a great conversation about Tales Top 100 and kind of finagling it a little bit. Check that out. It's also where you get access to the Patreon exclusive podcast, The After Story. It's also where you get access to all types of content. Patreon.com/Mic Check Waifu. Shout out to the Patreon producers. This week, we have a new, very special Patreon producer. He's been supporting us forever, but now he's a producer of the podcast. Shout out to TK Does Nothing, aka TK Does Everything.
Everything.
Welcome to the producer club. Thank you so much for supporting us. It means the world to us. Thank you so very, very, very much. Couldn't do the show without you and the other Patreon producers. Explicitly, Ked the Pro from Chaotic Culture Podcast. Check out Chaotic Culture Podcast. Spelled with a K. Fear, Semi Sensei, Frozen, T Money Fingers. Dad Needs to Talk. Check out Dad Needs to Talk Podcast. Christian the Archivist, aka Death Scythe. All for One Matt, Rob Stone, Matthew H, and last again, but certainly not least, the new guy. TK Does Everything. Thank you so much for producing this and many episodes of the podcast. We couldn't do it without y'all. It means the world to us. Thank you. Today we got a great show for you today. We are going to be reviewing last season's review selection. And this week we're going to choose next season's review selection because we didn't do that last week like we were supposed to. But before we get into that, we got some shows that finished. Fall is officially wrapped up. Like virtually 100% minus Chitose, but it got delayed like 60 days or something ridiculous like that.
My heart.
I know. That's the only thing that's not complete yet. But yeah, we're going to be discussing some more shows that wrapped up, shows we finished, as well as our rewatch, or two rewatches, which is the next 7 of Frieren, Frieren, and then the first 5 of Hell's Paradise, before we get ready for the season premieres of those two most anticipated shows for us. Got a lot to say about both, so stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Shout out to one of our producers, Fear, who actually just finished the whole thing today, the day we're recording this. And I want to, before we get into our episode of the week, I'm going to save it for when we start the Frieren talk. But yeah, let's start with the episode of the week for you. Which is nothing, because we didn't really have anything new, I guess, right?
I think I watched an episode of Chitose in the Ramune bottle, but I don't think that was a new episode.
It was.
It was? Uh-huh. Okay. Which, that's always great. But I'm also going to say this. Watching Frieren and Hell's Paradise was really good.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I want to give it to one of those, but I'm going to give it to something from this season. I'm going to give it to Chitose. But that was kind of all I really thought was amazing.
Yeah. You know what? There is, since it was not much, I'm going to give it to something that was last season's show, and that's the wrap up, the finale of Watari-kun's. Watari-kun's blank. It's a ridiculous title. So let me go ahead and find the proper title so people can know what I'm talking about. It isn't highly rated at all. It only has a 61%. It was higher. It was lower than that before. But Watari-kun's blank is about to collapse. And basically, it's just Watari-kun's life is about to collapse. I don't know why it's blanked. And I don't know why the synopsis is what it is. But it's kind of a pseudo messy rom-com that I feel that is very very good at depicting young teenagers, even though it's not of our culture, right? But depicting a young teenager's relationship woes early, like, you know. And again, I'm not particularly brushed up on my teenage Japanese high school culture, but romance culture. But I think it depicts it very well. I mean, it kind of has a lot of twists and turns and situations that you could see happening in real life for a young teenage boy, and a boy of great character too. Like he's not a perv, he's not anything crazy, or, you know, he's not a terrible character whatsoever. His moralities are in the correct place, and essentially it's a great story that I feel definitely deserves a better score than what it has. It's 26 episodes. So if you are into rom-coms or romance anime in general, or slice of life anime in general, I do think this is worth a watch for sure. And 26 episodes is I think the perfect amount for this particular show to build up a story, build up characters, have situations, the situations fall apart or come together or whatever it is. And it turned out to be a great story, in my opinion.
And I think that's a relatively high opinion, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm kind of sad it's over, but I'm kind of glad it's over because it was kind of. I'm like, I want the story to be wrapped up to see where they all ends, essentially. And it was nice. Okay, yes. So now let's get to some other shows that finished this week. Now, two things. I picked back up on Spy Family. I watched 2 episodes of that, which was episodes 3 and 4. Don't have much to say about that. It's still Spy Family. And what didn't we finish last week? I didn't get to talk about my status as an assassin. Obviously, it's Seize the Hero.
Mm-hmm.
It was garbage. It's a bad show, and I think people like it because it's pretty. Like I said, it's my favorite art style. It's very pretty, very heavy on the lines and in the art itself. And then the last scene animation was really, really good, really well done. However, it's a terrible story, a very terribly paced story about this assassin who didn't want to kill. It spent about 5 or 6 episodes about him whining, bitching, and complaining about not wanting to be what his class is, even though at the very beginning he seemed gung-ho and all about it. Because he even threatened to kill the king at the beginning. It's just the story didn't make any sense logically. But again, right. It's anime, so most of them don't. No, that's not a fucking excuse. It should make sense. It should always make sense because there's no excuse as to why it shouldn't. It was a poorly told story, poorly written story, poorly written characters in general, and then the pacing was atrocious. Probably some of the worst I've ever seen.
It was forgivable in the beginning,
yes,
for the nonsense, right? You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's always a hall pass that we give to anime or just anything, right? Sometimes the beginning's a little, because they're introducing things, they're introducing concepts, they're introducing what this may be, they're introducing the world, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it really fell apart, brick by brick, piece by piece, step by step, as soon as they did that moment that we all know about, who did watch the show.
Yeah.
Even in my mind, and where it's like I was willing to forgive that. As the show progressed, it just kept falling apart.
Yeah,
it was poorly constructed, and that does suck because it had the framework to be good. Mm-hmm. It had the idea and the concept there. Mm-hmm. What happened?
Accurate indeed, man. Accurate indeed. It was rough. It was a rough one to watch. Yeah. And then another one I finished was Tell Sleeper. This monster wants to eat me. Now, this one is this one turned out to be the opposite of what we just talked about. The beginning of it was trash. And then trash is a strong word. Let me just say the beginning of it was rough. And then a turning point happened. And then it turned into this very quality story that offered a lot of intriguing plot points of literally what this is basically. And I want, because this is the third week in a row we're gonna bring this fucking show up, but it basically did a love flop, but it didn't. It's not a love flop. It's like it's just a flop, an emotional flop, right? Where it was. It was. I can't really say it without spoilers because I do think I don't want to spoil it. It's just a great story on emotional trauma and us trying to find solutions to that emotional trauma, for lack of a better term. At first, I thought it was going to get weird because it was labeled as a Yuri, and I thought it was going to turn, especially with how it was going, I thought it was going to turn into like a fucking grooming situation because this lady is obviously thousands of years old, or hundreds or whatever the case may be, and messing with this teenager, but it just seems like a different kind of story than that, which I appreciate. And I love the goal of it, right? To prevent the ultimate wrong move, right? And when it comes to life, I just think about a lot of people who lost this fight, you know, and the fight that she's fighting with our main character, the fight that she's fighting within herself. It sucks that she's where she's at, you know, and where it's going don't look good. But I like that there's somebody's fighting for it. Sorry.
No, you're good. It actually did turn out to be a really interesting concept because of what I think of almost like what it looks like initially, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also the concept of like prey versus predator versus prey. Right. And what this turns into, it's a bit deeper than that. And while I just kind of threw this out as a random shot in the dark and wasn't expecting any of this, right? Yeah. I actually do think Polow turned out to like this one more than I did. Mm-hmm. While I'm not saying I didn't enjoy what I watched, because I do think that there was parts of this that was, it drew me in, right? Especially because this is something that a lot of people do realistically go through. And while I haven't had very deep moments where I felt like that, I feel like I've had my own depressions and things where I was just like, my energy was low. And this is one of those things where sometimes you wish you had that person to pull you out and help you see the light. Mm-hmm. And this is an important conversation in an anime that I thought was going to go the way Polow was seeing it too. And that's not why I chose it. I was hoping for something more like this, I guess. While I did not even expect that there was going to be this. Yeah. But I do think it was a nice change of pace for this season specifically, because this was, I mean, I'm going to say we rarely get something with this topic kind of conversation, so to speak. Yeah. And if we do, it's done poorly. Taka OP, whatever that shit was. Right, whatever that was. That shit was garbage. Just say whatever that was. But yeah, no, I think this is is going to get a lot better in this second season if it gets one, which there's no promise that it will be, honestly. Because let me see, who was the studio? I don't think they had much fanfare. No, it ended up with a 73% on adding list, which is higher than I thought. Done by Studio Lings. Lings, they don't do much. Which is 73% is surprising for that. I mean, I would say it's about there for me. Maybe. Yeah, but I think it was lower than that not too long ago. It was about 65 roughly. Usually when shows get completed, they get a little bump because people who are like me who don't review until it's done put their 2 cents finally in. Put the yeah. That always gives it a nice little jump.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, that's it. Unless you have something that you watched that wasn't on my list that you end up finishing.
It was This Monster Wants to Eat Me. There was something else. Hold up, let me.
Side tangent. I need a fucking haircut. I haven't had a haircut in probably like 9 months. My hair is extremely long. I can put it in a ponytail, which is absurd.
Nah, I do think that we completed all the things.
Clean. Now, I do think we should get into our talks before we get into the review. Say the review for last, because not everybody has watched this show. But I think honestly, it's the perfect time to get into these talks, too. Let's start off with Hell's Paradise, because that's the new one. We watched episode 1 through 5 for Hell's Paradise, and next week we're going to watch 4. And then the following week we're going to watch, I think it's 3. And then it'll be done. I think that's how I have it set up in the Discord. Make sure you join our Discord, discord.miccheckwaifuwaifu.com to join in on a rewatch guide, or you could just do it like our guy Fear and watch the whole damn thing in a week. But it's entirely up to you. But we're doing it in a guide form, in a breakdown form, just so it can lead up nicely to the next season, so we can properly discuss it leading in, and it's going to flow extremely nicely with how everything's going. But I digress. Let's start off with Hell's Paradise. It's the first time we watched Hell's Paradise since it released in 2023, which was April 1st of 2023, and it ended in July of 2023. 80% on Annie List. Tell, what did you think of the first 5 episodes of Hell's Paradise?
All right. If I have to be honest, I feel like initially watching it, I don't think I gave this show enough credit for what it is.
Most people didn't.
I feel like there's a very important conversation that also happens in this anime, especially with Gabimaru and his hollowness, because it isn't what his character is an exaggeration of what, like, of a societal standard of what men are, so to speak. Not trying to dive too much into that conversation, because I know, let's be real, it's a spectrum. People are different in all over the world. But it is a societal conversation that, like, people always try to say, like, you don't have to be hollow. You can be more than this.
And can I pause you right there?
Go ahead, brother.
That piece of this anime is what makes it stand out leagues above the Dons, leagues above the Bleaches, even leagues above stuff that we would normally say we like, or not Don, but that is just better than stuff like that. That message, that what you just said, is the perfect point as to why this show is better than most that people don't give it credit for. But sorry to interrupt. I just had to get that point in there because it was important.
And when he goes through his ups and downs, it's not about so much of him, like, not being hollow. It's that amongst all that hollowness is accepting responsibility for what you do, right? Acceptance of what you do, the goals and jobs and whatever it is in the world that you do, whatever your place is, accepting that responsibility, right? Huge. But also the fact that your reason for waking up sometimes, your reason for resisting and living on another day can be something else that you may just be completely neglecting in your mind is the reason for you waking up and coming home every day.
I keep wanting to interrupt you because you're fucking killing it. But I don't want to interrupt you because you're fucking killing it. Because I want to touch on that. All what you're speaking on is exactly right. It's everything that I wanted to say and more. Because it reminds me of the conversation we had for 3 weeks straight with our guy Mazer. It's the perfect conversation. Now, this is a goal-driven plot, but this plot is so intricate that you can't, like, the message it's delivering isn't for kids, or it isn't for people with low attention spans. It isn't even for people who can't, who can't all the way pay attention to anime. Maybe you have, and no offense, because my brother has kids, but maybe you have some kids or a dog or something. Like, you have to kind of focus in on this anime because there is a lot of messaging that goes on that is so far and above and beyond the basic through line of what this plot is that you can entirely miss in watching this show. And This time I'm watching the dub. I am going to touch on the dub. The dub is okay. It is an okay dub. It's not anything spectacular, but it is, to me, in my personal opinion, better to watch dub because of those messaging points that you can miss in the sub portions of the show. But when I tell you, everything that Tell said, everything that was mentioned was character developed from Gabimaru in like the first 1, maybe 2 episode length, and it was perfectly placed and established on who he is, his motivations, and the whys. And then as we continue the slow build up as to what you just said, the reason why you wake up and his quote unquote character change is, it makes sense because of the discovery he makes from the trauma that he had from essentially about to get destroyed, killed in the first episode, die and not live anymore. He's like, she's like, okay, but you say you're okay with dying and you don't have a reason to live, but what about this reason? And when that reason when he comes to fruition, and the way it's directed and that information washes over him is just beautiful. Mappa is fucking incredible. And this isn't even one of Mappa's best work, by the way, as far as animation goes, but it's beautifully done, man. This show is way better than even what I gave it credit for back when we first watched it. Because like you said, it's a lot of messaging that is just fucking huge. The societal norms of, men being hollow. Men and women. Men and women, the societal issues with women not being able to do or be whoever they want to be. And it's stuff that is relative, even though it's the fucking Sengoku period, that is relevant today. And a lot of metaphors and similes and shit that you would not find unless you pay a fucking attention, unless you slow down and pay attention to this show, which I know 85% of you don't. It is fucking incredible. It way better than we gave it credit for, even back then.
I do want to say this about the dub, because Polow did have his statement about the dub. While I agree with him, I will say Gabimaru, Sagiri, both of their voices grew on me, but they are the ones we spent the most time with.
Yeah.
But I feel like obviously they're the lead characters, so they have the best voice actors. Gabimaru,
I believe, is Alejandro Saab, which is he's a good actor, but I don't think he fit for Gabimaru, to be honest. Yeah. But
also Yuzihara, the Kinoichi.
Yeah, no, she's great.
I like her voice too.
Yeah,
so
she's great.
I'm just gonna be honest with you, brother.
For some reason, and that voice actress plays those type of characters almost all the time, and she does a hell of a job. And she just has that seductiveness that kind of works for characters like that. That is smooth. Smooth is a great term for it. It's just smooth. It just flows so nicely.
Now, the other thing that I think is just overall impressive about this show is the character diversity.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so you do know immediately some characters are not gonna, they're like, these characters don't matter. They're gonna be gone relatively quickly. Sure. And then you get to about episode 4 and 5 and you're like, okay, so these are the mainstays. This is what's going to be the staple of this show, you would think. Mm-hmm. And those characters, they all have their own quirks. And I do say this show does a great job of, like, I feel like feeding the story-driven intellectual part of me, mm-hmm, while also feeding the meathead in me.
That's what I'm saying, Tell. And I'm glad I started this off with a king tell him, because that's exactly right. That's exactly why I am so adverse to people using the excuse of it's just shonen. They're supposed to just have cool fights and not a good story. It's no, like, settling for just the bullshit meathead play. Okay, Chainsaw Man is my guilty pleasure. It's my one exception where I'm like, I love this shit. I fucking love this straight meathead bullshit ass show that the plot don't mean nothing, but it's so good. But this one it does both so well. Fuck Gacha Kuda or Gacha Akita, whatever the fuck. This has both. And it's fucking brilliant. It's brilliantly done, man, because the action is Mappa. Okay, so of course, And, and then the storytelling is, I whoever wrote this shit is goated. Now, could it fall apart in season 2? Absolutely, it could. Will it? I don't believe it will. I don't believe it can. With the flow in which, if I remember correctly, which I don't, which I will as we continue to watch this rewatch, I think it has the this honestly has the opportunity to make my top 20, to go back to the conversation we had in the pre-show, because the storytelling is so fucking good. And I'm just like, we about to get more of this at a stronger clip, if I remember correctly, during this rewatch. And I'm not going to go too far ahead here, but where we stopped is fucking, sorry for my vulgarity, but it's a cock tease.
And mind you, I'm remembering very, very vividly what happened when we watched it the first time. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I just can't wait to re-see the things. And I'm watching it. I'm like, they intentionally did some misdirective and misdirection kind of things. And I was like, but it's fair because we don't see that as Gabimaru. As people who are following Gabimaru, there are things we don't see. So the misdirection is very cool. And I'm like, I rock with it.
Dude, how can we go this long without even talking about the fucking symbolism with how the girl see herself in that sword about the people she executing, while she still feels scared, even though she's not. I guess just so much fucking shit in this show in these 5 episodes. It's like, yo, what the fuck were they too cooked?
Yeah, Sagiri.
Yes, man.
Yeah. And I even think about like how Gabimaru was wrapped in his old sensei when she said this guy is a threat.
Yep.
And that's the moment that she sees him as a threat, but she's also like, you've changed. You know what I mean? Yep. Come on, man. Come on.
It's unbelievable.
This show is pedal to the metal already.
Everything that we said in the past about this show, amp that up times 10. Because I meant it then and I mean it now. This is probably one of the better new gen animes, period. I think it's up there for me personally. Hate me all you want, because I know I got a lot of people who don't like my taste. Okay, my taste is very different than a lot of people's. This is up there with the JJK for me, like on the same fucking plane. Sue me, I don't give a shit, because the difference between this and JJK is JJK is more of a reactive plot, which is harder to do. I will say it's a harder thing to do in anime to keep people's attention. It's a reactive a plot. It doesn't really have necessarily a goal in mind, but it has cool characters and cool fights and really strong, overpowered characters that you're like, oh shit, that's fucking cool. But so does this, in a way that is like, unironically, I'm gonna say grounded, even though it's not very grounded at all, but in a way that's like, oh, well, we over here we have Gojo, so we'll probably be fine. Over here we have Sukuna, so we'll probably be fine. I know Sukuna's not fine, but y'all know what I mean. While here, Gabimaru is strong, right? But you're not necessarily, at this point in time, 1 through 5, you're not necessarily sure if he's strong, which we know he is. Spoilers. But we're not necessarily strong, where we still have some concern for him and the people around him that is, like you said, the mainstays in the show.
He also did do some aura farming relatively early on.
Sure, but it's not aura farming Gojo level aura farming though.
Yeah.
It's like Gojo is Sid level aura farming, or fucking Ain's level. Like you, who's gonna fucking beat them? Gabimaru's who's gonna beat Gabimaru? But maybe somebody can with the way this.
Excuse my vulgarity. I also think sometimes that it's a ass push to hold one of your strongest characters just for the plot.
Yeah. No, it is indeed. But I just like this flow better. I really like this.
I have to agree with you.
And to think that we only got 13 episodes of this, and there's still so much information that got dropped in a relatively reasonable fashion.
Yeah, bro.
Incredible, man.
And then with the episode pacing is crazy, because I feel like we just get into the meat and potatoes of what this show is. Mm-hmm. And then we're gone. It's like, oh no, we gotta wait till next week to get the rest.
True. True. Well done, Hell's Paradise. Well done, man. Now, moving on to, I have an announcement to make. Okay, and this announcement is that with these more episodes, we are talking about, it's just Frieren talk right now. With these 8 through 14 we watched, Frieren has replaced or moved over or adjusted itself in my top 10. It is now my number 2, while Clannad is now my number 3. It officially surpassed Clannad, which has an emotional tie, which my Clannad was an emotional tie, but it still also was very good to me in my opinion, as far as like a slice of life goes. It's probably still the best slice of life of all time to me. But this Frieren's made his pass of Clannad to have that special place in my heart with these next few episodes, because again, the aura farmer, the old penis, excuse my vulgarity, but just watching this show, I'm gonna just touch on our guy, our producer, one of our longtime producers, Fear. He says, just finished, what he say? Oh, God tier rewatch. Sadly, I didn't follow the schedule, but this show always holds up. And he also says, watched it all and just finished the last episode 20 minutes ago. That was earlier today. And he says, definitely a classic, and I will stand on that heel. Undeniable. I mean, Fear, it's undeniably a fact what you said. I don't give a fuck who you are, what you believe. This show is incredible. 14 episodes in, I'm sold as it being one of the greatest of all times.
This is one of the easiest rewatches to do, right? I actually wholeheartedly agree and understand why Fear just watched it all. And I was contemplating last week, like I could high key just watch all of this. I ain't gotta stop. What am I gonna stop for? It's just Frieren. Yeah. It's like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet and you got a bottomless pit for a stomach. What am I gonna stop for?
I think it's gonna be worth it to stop though, because of the flow into the, like, it's going right up until the premiere of the second season, which will, I think, make it better. But
which is great. Yeah. And I'm gonna say it's great because what we've been getting in Frieren, the lessons, and here's the thing. One of the best things about Frieren is we've had this conversation before last week. It's the time concept. But it's not just the time, it's the not missing the opportunities when you've already missed them before because of time.
Yep.
Man. And this show has so many good characters, bro. Every character is fucking great.
Bro, the villagers.
Every character is great.
Villager number 1, 2, and 3, or however many villagers we meet are spectacular too. The ones that they've met in the past that were children that are grown up, and it's just so fucking good in the way they introduce them and bring them in and bring them part of the world. And then we stopped last week at a time where we first get introduced to the demons. And here we are, starting off right at the fight of the demons. And it's just, and I'm going to say this now, and I believe this with my whole heart. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. This dubbed is better than the sub. Sorry. I don't regret saying that. The way she says, Aurora, what's her name? Aurora? Aurora?
It's Aura.
Aura, kill yourself. And it was just, I literally got chills and the hairs on my arm stood up. I wish I would have took a picture of that, because that shit was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm using a screenshot from the show for the clip art for the
because she just walked away. Not even just that. Fern, bro. And when she was talking shit with her dubbed voice actress as well. And this is probably why I was so lukewarm on Hell's Paradise, because Frieren's dubbed is just unbelievable. I mean, I know I was talking about how much May I Ask for One Final Thing is like my number 1 favorite dubbed of all time now, but no, this is my number 1 favorite dubbed of all time. And then May I Ask for One Final Thing is like a close second, because Fern, when she was talking to the demon and talking her shit, and her facial expressions, the way it all matched and felt, and she felt so powerful,
yet still her timid self. It was just spectacularly done. And that's not even talking about the fucking animation of the fight, the choreography of the fight, and even the demon's thoughts of fucking how ridiculous she was. And I felt him trembling in his voice actor too. It was just incredible. I'm sorry. Thanks for letting me vent.
Oh yeah, by all means, brother. I'm with you. Here's one of the things that I find the most enjoyable about Frieren though. And it's something that Polow hates, specifically in My Hero. It's the backstory, brother.
No, I don't hate the backstory.
You hate the placement of it.
Yes.
I understand. That's what I mean. He hates the placement of it. Mm-hmm. But it's the way that the backstory here is just done so adequately. It's like they fill you in at the right moments where it feels like the story is, you can feel the story change, because there's a moment where they're headed to the village to do what Frieren is supposed to do, and they're talking about the hero's weapon, the hero's sword. Yeah. And there's this transition where you don't even realize that they've transitioned to the past in this story. And they do this really good thing of keeping some of the color palettes the same, like Stark and Aizen. And you don't quite realize they changed until you see the characters face to face. And then they switch back and you see Stark in his like thoughts about the hero's sword and the hero's story. But then it goes back. That same story relates to Stark's story. What he thinks a hero is, what he thinks a warrior is. But what they've been doing the whole time is, from Stark's birthday, is layering in the warrior, comparing the idea of the warrior to the hero, pushing them together so that when you get this moment, you're getting Stark's story into the backstory rolled in with the hero's party story. Who the fuck is writing this, bro? This is like gold.
I'm gonna say this. You made a slight mistake. And what I mean by the slight mistake is that they do differentiate the past and the present, which I know you know, by not just the color palette. Color palette is irrelevant. It's always the same thing though. And this is what most people would not get. It's the music. There's a specific music. They honestly do what movies do, and give things certain soundtracks. And there's a soundtrack to the past that you always hear whenever it's the past. And it is so audibly well done that's what makes it so good. Because what happens is they let scenes linger, right? So Fern is talking to Frieren. She says something. And when she says it, nothing happens. It's quiet. Okay. You hear some docile tones, and you get a zoom in picture of Frieren's eyeball or the side of her face or something like that. And then she blinks, and then the music comes on. When the music comes on, it's changing to the past, just like that. And when it's in the past, it's that particular soundtrack of when it's the hero party and their journey as they're journeying. And then you hear somebody comes up and they start talking. That's what makes the backstory pacing and placement so much better than something like My Hero, which in My Hero, it's action, 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 past. It's an instant cut to the past in the middle of somebody throwing a fucking punch. Okay. And it is that I absolutely can't stand, because it doesn't feel good. It's jarring. It's underwhelming. It's overly stimulating. It's underwhelming, but overly stimulating is kind of contradictory, but you know what that feeling I'm talking about.
What you mean.
Because you feel that. It's like, oh shit, underwhelming. Oh, I'm going to the fucking past and slow down to a snail's pace crawl to then lose that momentum, and just my dopamine is gone. Frieren, it's a gradual build up to an emotional story beat that is extremely important to what this is about. And was what Tel said at the beginning, a story of time and appreciating time. And then it transitions back to something else. And when it transitions back to the present, they could be in a whole nother area. They could be in a whole nother zone. They could progress. We don't know exactly how they progress sometimes, and they just move forward. The story continues to move forward. While when we come back from the past in My Hero, it's continuing from where we left off instead of moving forward. Mm-hmm. So it makes the story feel slower.
And that's the thing, right? We've talked about like a reactive plot before. Mm-hmm. The coolest thing about this is that parts of it are reactive.
I mean, yeah.
But the whole thing is goal centered, right? Yeah. There's a specific goal, but specific parts of it are reactive, like how we come across Sign. But it makes sense with how things progressed. Mm-hmm. And mind you, he's an amazing character. Man, I was just like, he fits the same category as Hyder.
Yep.
From the original Heroes Party. And you can see the right, but you can see the how Frieren valued it immediately.
Yep.
And how her experiences has shaped her. And his character introduction, every character introduction continues exactly what I was talking about. That roll. How everything rolls towards the finish line. Everything is rolling in progression. But it does it in a way in which it's like there is no direct stop. Mm-hmm. But it's never once like in an awkward place. And I don't even know, like, I'm watching it and I'm like, I don't even know how they do it so well. Like, I know what I'm saying and I know what the actions they're taking to do it so well. You know what I mean? Of course. But what I'm saying is I don't know how they do it so well. It's like when the story was written, was it initially written as well? And how many revisions did you have to make to even get this? Yeah, and I know I might sound like I'm gassing it up, but I promise you, if you look at it and just every episode to episode, there isn't a moment that isn't rolling forward, but it's never too fast. It's never too slow. This has like the perfect pacing to me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you can tell when a writer spends time on the world first, and then they spend a lot of time on the characters, and then they spend a lot of time on what the characters are going to be doing, and then they spend a lot of time on the message they want to deliver with these characters, and then they spend a lot, like it's a lot of time spent on certain areas in that order. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I think about what all-time great shows to me, and shows that'll be in my top 100. Jobless Reincarnation. Spent a lot of time in the world, right? Like spent a lot of time on the world, and then you brought in the characters, and then you brought in the goals, and then you brought, like, you could tell when somebody spends a lot of time building an anime opposed to just putting an anime together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think of Zenshu, you build that anime, and that was just an anime original too, so that's even harder. But like, this is built brick by brick, laid out perfect, and cemented perfect, and just it's just giving everything that I've ever wanted in the show.
But it's the respect that Studio Madhouse does in correlation to that story.
I mean, that's the same.
That is insane. And mind you, Madhouse has already
Overlord
proven themselves. You know what I mean? They've proven themselves. So obviously, I don't even think they could have chosen a better studio.
I know.
Rewatching this, I'm like, you know how like I could have been like a while ago, I'd be like, you know, if they had chosen Ufotable, this would have been no. I think Madhouse was the perfect studio. They have the perfect art style, the perfect direction. Mm-hmm. Man, I love Frieren. Dude, y'all already know. I believe it's already on my top 100 as my number 2. So you ain't gotta. Yeah, you ain't gotta worry about that.
So now we officially have 2 anime in the same spot. We probably have maybe 1 or more in the same spot too, other than that. But yeah, no, Madhouse is probably the most dynamic studio for this. It's perfect. They did stuff like A Place Further in the Universe, which is one of our highest rated anime. They did stuff like fucking Tacto P, Destiny, beautiful show. Overlord, obviously we touched on. Mm-hmm. I mean, Orb, like it's just a bunch of shows that are gorgeous. That I truly can't wait for it. And I think honestly, Madhouse 2025, they didn't do much. which means that they were probably focused
just working on Frieren.
So they got
my goodness.
This year they got Liar Game, Awajima, which it's a music show, and then Frieren. So it's going to be even better, I believe, this season than last season was. It's a perfect show. Frieren is literally the definition of what I would consider a perfect show.
Yes,
the bar is high. Okay,
we ain't arguing at all.
All right, moving on. Let's get to know my check waifu and then go into our review. Shall we?
Let's go.
Tell your turn to read the question. My turn to roll the random number generator.
Let's go.
80, brother.
Number 80. What is your favorite anime with a historical setting?
That's actually a good question. Make sure you delete that question. Holy fuck, that's a great question. Let me see if I can find historical here. Do they have that as an option in any list? I'm sure they do, right? Because I definitely don't know off the top of my head. I'm not going to count Demon Slayer. Let's go.
And I guess almost what this means that
period pieces, right?
Yeah, so it has to be like, yeah, like what is it called? Goodness gracious, why can't I think of the name? I literally had it on the top of my head.
It's easy because it's Apothecary Diaries.
Oh, goddamn! That's literally right there. Mm-hmm. That's my number 5 or number 4. Sorry.
Yeah, we got to do that top 10 again because yours changed a lot. But yeah, no, it's I think that's for both of us there, right?
Damn, yeah, that's right there. I can't. Yeah, that's my favorite.
You could do Villain Saga. You could do Violet.
I was thinking Villain Saga, but no. Nah. That's it.
Okay,
that's it.
Yeah, same. All right, now let's get to the review. Now, the way this works for the uninitiated is we rate anime based off of 5 categories to be as, what is it, subjective? Objective. Subjectively objective. We rate anime based off of 5 categories using a 20-point scale. So, for example, we take animation, sound design, pacing, and plot and characters. We'll read on that a little bit later. And we rate it 1 through 10 using a 20-point scale. So that's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, etc. Once we take those 5 scores, we average it out to give our individual scores. After we give our individual scores, we then take those individual scores and average those together to give you an My Check Waifu official overall review. Now, if you want to follow along or if you want to use our review scale for your anime, if you join our Discord, discord.mycheckwaifu.com, you can actually take our review scale and make a copy of it and use it. Shout out to TCB. He uses our review scale sometimes for his shows to see what your average would be. But the categories we rate is animation. The way we do it is based off of art style, visual direction, scenery, and overall viewing experience. We rate sound design, which is the soundtrack, composition, sound effects, and how well it tied with the visuals. We do pacing, which is the episode strength and continuity and how well the story developed as the series unfolded and went on. The plot is the overall story and how well it was written and how well the story resonate with us as the viewer. And then last but not least are the characters, the relatability, the overall development and growth of the characters and how memorable they were throughout the entire show. The show we're reviewing this week is... What's the show we're reviewing this week? Let me get the proper
My
name.
gift level 9,999, unlimited gacha, backstabbed and Backwater dungeon. I'm out for revenge.
Is the full title. All right. Okay.
Oh, goodness, brother.
Starting off, Tell.
All right. Do you want to get open thoughts on what you thought about the show, or you want me to start?
Sure, I'll start. My gift level was a show that I went in with kind of expectations of it being a Polow and Tell-last show. And what that means is it's a show that me and Tel likes that we wouldn't recommend to people because we know that it's not particularly good, but it's a show that we could watch because we find those kind of shows enjoyable, even though we know they're not necessarily good. We thought that was the case until we watched the first episode. First episode was a fucking banger when it comes to setting up a story and a character and wanting to get that revenge because it's in the title, to get the revenge. And as we watched it, I enjoyed every last bit of it to the point where we even, or I don't even think we did. I think All For One Matt, one of our producers, recommended it to Crystal unintentionally. And she picked it up, which is one that I would never even think to recommend one to because we know her taste. But she picked it up and she enjoyed it just as much as we did, I believe. Yeah, she did. But I do think that this show was one of the better revenge stories in a sea full of revenge stories the past couple of years that we've gotten, to be honest. Because what it did was, to me, honestly, personally, it was consistent. It was consistent in its go. It was consistent in the way it moved, and it was consistent in how well it went. Now, this is where you kind of get a little hint of what I feel about the story. After sitting with it for, a week and letting it marinate in my brain on what I think I should do as a review, I don't think about it a lot, which is unintentional, you know. After it was done, I haven't thought about it since, which is a problem. However, I do find it still to be a good show. Great even. A great show even. So if that gives you any hints of what I'm going to do today, so be it. But that's just my opening thoughts on how I feel about it. Tell, how do you feel about my gift level 9,999 unlimited gacha, backstabbed in the Backwater dungeon, and I'm out for revenge?
Oh my goodness. It's a mouthful.
Don't let that title fool you. Watch it.
It's weird. And I say this with like, I mean weird in a very good way. I mean that in the sense of like, it almost feels relatable, even though I know I would never be in this position.
Right.
And there's just so much of it that I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed. This show, I expected to enjoy it. I didn't expect to enjoy it. I didn't expect to enjoy it this much.
Yeah, same.
But I do think that comes with what the show actually is, and not how the show was actually made. That's weird to say. The show is made well, but I think that's what they gave us. They gave us this world. They gave us these characters and said, "This is what you're getting." And I feel like they delivered on that. And I feel like delivery is like what Polow was saying. It was consistent in that delivery.
Yeah. And
that's what made this show like pop. It made it pop.
You know what? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. I didn't know you were done.
This is why it would be a show that, although I know people are going to see the name and be like, I can't watch this. Why would I watch this?
Right.
Give it a shot, bro.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. And you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, hold up.
Yep. And when I was about to say, when I was streaming, this is when I'm like, listen, this title might sound crazy. Watch it. And people were like, you know what? Okay, I'll give it a shot. And they told me I was right. They messaged me like, oh, this shit crazy. Because it's just one of those shows where it's like, this shit crazy. I also want to add this point too. What it did well, and this is about to sound like a crazy comparison, but hear me out first. What it did well is what I think, even though I don't like this show as much as most people do, it did well as what The Boys does. The Boys, which is the Amazon Prime superhero show. Now, again, hear me out first. What The Boys does well is the fact that it incorporates superhero and capitalism together in a way that is realistic to the world that is. So in the world that is Earth, us, reality, if there's people with superpowers, you know that'll be capitalized in the capitalistic way, right? And that makes sense for what reality is. In this particular comparison, what I'm doing here is in a fantasy world where you have other beings which aren't human getting magical abilities, 9 times out of 10, the humans will probably be on the lowest totem pole when it comes to something like elves who can live longer, or somebody like beast people who are probably 100 times stronger than what a human is, or demons who are demons. So like
demons.
When you think about in a world with other races, this is doing something that no other fantasy show does, and it's particularly portraying humans as what we would in reality consider humans to be, and that's the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to this magical shit that we have in the world of fantasy, which is completely unique in anime, in my opinion. And that's what I think also makes this show special when it comes to this type of stuff. Even though the My Gacha thing is absurd, but it's an incredible story, an incredible feat, I think, to do something that anime, again, as somebody who has 1,000 of them, over 1,000 of them under your belt, does well. This shit does it well. So, all right, let's get into the review proper, shall we? Start off with animation.
Now, this show, and like I said, based off the name, I feel like it's definitely animated better than what I was expecting coming into this.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck in between where I want to give it, because I feel like I want to put it somewhere in the middle of this number. So I'm hoping Polow goes a little bit different on my animation, because I feel like that'll make it more accurate. But I feel like it's like an 8.
Okay.
8 out of 10 in animation. And I say that because there are moments that are very, very great animated moments. And then the show is just like, otherwise it's just consistent. It's good. Where it doesn't need to go above and beyond. There's moments where it's just giving you what it's delivering. But there are moments where it needs to stand out, and it does that. It exceeds what you were expecting for that moment.
Yeah, I'd describe it as visceral in some parts and average in others, right? I think it did have those moments where it was showcasing him being the demon that he is in front of the only 2 people that he got his revenge on. Technically 3, but 2 that was a part of his initial plot, right?
Right.
Those visceral scenes of like fucking spoilers, the angels getting bodied, or the wolf dude shitting his pants because he just sense this or feel this power of these characters. It was beautiful then, but other than that, it was like a very average looking show for the most part. So yeah, I gave it a 7. I think it's just
that's what I was looking for.
I think it was just average in that department. Now, moving on to sound design, I do think this is slightly better than what the animation was, because there was moments that were, the voice acting, and I'm probably only one of us that gives voice acting so much weight in this particular category, because the music was fine. I love the outro music. I love the intro music, and the scene music was also very good. It seems very demonic when it needed to be and bubbly when it didn't. But what stood out to me the most was the voice acting and the talent that those actors in Japanese, even though it's not my language, I still felt the emotions from the characters. And I think like whenever they would do a switch up, or scene would change, and they would don't disrespect Lord Light, and it was better than the animation. So for me, I gave this one an 8 as far as sound design goes, because it was more memorable to me than the animation was.
Now, did you listen to the dub at all?
There's a dubbed for it?
Well, they already have some voice actors for it. I only listened to like the beginning episode to get some of the voices. They actually don't sound bad at all. Now I did go on the pirate seas.
Okay,
to get that.
High Dive don't be having it until fucking a year later. Sometimes, maybe it's on High Dive now, but I don't know.
But I did do that just to get some voices, and I'll say May. I actually really like her voice. That's the maid girl.
Okay. Yeah, yes, she's great.
So I do think that they probably actually did I would say they probably decided a job, but I didn't listen to everyone's voice in that. Now, what I will say that I found impactful, just like how Polow may have found some other things impactful as well, is that I feel like what they did do relatively well is a lot of the sound design when it comes to the effects, to how the magic gets cast, how things are impacted when, like, he's got his fucking staff and it's not even touching the ground, it's just breaking the ground, and the aura from it is just making this vroom. Yeah. You know what I mean? There are moments in it where it has this it's like I said, it's the aura. It's the aura.
Yes.
But I thought it was relatively consistent with the animation in terms of like the sound design. So I kept that as an 8 as well.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Now, Tel, what do you feel about the pacing of the show?
This is my least favorite part of the show. Okay. And I say that because I definitely wanted more. Now, when I say it's my least favorite part, I don't mean to say that like it's bad, but I say it because there was parts, the way things happen, I just really enjoyed this show. But how they did this, I can see the setup for season 2. But there's other things that ended up happening that I'll talk about in the next segment that just, it brought to light, no pun intended, brought to light bigger goals that could happen for this anime. But my gripe with the pacing is that I really I wanted more. So I gave it a 7.5.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, the pacing of it was strange. Now, I am going to be the one that feels like I'm going to be the only one that do a complete U-turn on what episode 2 was after watching episode 3 and on, right? Episode 2 was jarring, yes, from what episode 1 was, but it makes sense as to why they did it and how they did it. It all made sense after you watch the next episodes. So it's like, yeah, it's weird for episode 2 to be as strange as it was pacing wise, but it makes sense as you continue to watch it. Now, yeah, I do believe that the pacing was the weakest part of it because they have so much to tell and they told it extremely at a snail's pace in a way they didn't necessarily need to. I feel like they could have got a lot more done in a lot less time because and if it probably would be higher if it wasn't for this show, but Hell's Paradise, the way Hell's Paradise does it, because in 5 episodes we got twice as much information than we did in Hell's Paradise than we do in this particular show, and that's only 5 episodes. So, and it still felt great, but I digress. This one felt off when it comes to the pacing because, and this is also one that's going to suffer from a week to week versus a bingeable concept too, because I think bingeability wise, it's higher. It's like a whole point higher than what I'm about to give it. But normally, I think this was probably the weakest part of the entire series, which is why I gave it a 6.5. I think it definitely is like a D when it comes to the pacing because of the way it was paced and the cliffhangers, and I just feel like we could have got a lot more than just 2 characters that was in his goal in like a third extra one. You know? All right. Now moving on to plot. This is where me and Tell always vary. We bounce back and forth between the plot and the pacing and the way we tell it. Plot for me means just plain the goal or reactivity of the plot. Okay, so the goal was to get revenge on his former party mates who left him down in the abyss, who attempted to kill him, who wanted him dead, who don't give a fuck about him, and who treat all humans as subpar beings. That's the entire show. Get revenge on that. Fantastic plot. And the way it was told within this show, even though the pacing was poor in which it was told in the episode length, but the plot in which it was delivered with him saying, listen, I'm gonna get this shit myself, I'm gonna get it in blood, I'm gonna become the strongest, etc., etc., etc. I think that part was good, if not great. Now, there is one issue I have with the plot that's not gonna give it a higher score than what I'm about to give it, and that is the lack of information that was, how can I say this? The lack of information when it comes to other characters. Now, I know that's intentional, or even his, like, essentially his goals, or the way his planning. That's what I mean, his planning. I know that's intentional because they want to surprise us with all the nonsense that he's doing. But I feel like that kind of took away from the plot a little bit. I want to hear his plans and then see him in action, because I think that's cool. But I do think the plot was as strong as what I believe the sound design to be, which I gave an 8. So I'm gonna give the plot an 8.5. Maybe a little high. But I do believe the plot is good.
I think the plot was very good as well. And very good could be, I guess my very good is going to be perceived weirdly in this. But I think the plot of this is like what Polow said. It's the get back. It's the revenge. I think that the plot opens up with different ideas and aspects. Like I said, when we talk about it, when he's like, and he clearly didn't take on this specific goal, but when he was speaking about, should I go to war with the entire surface, or, you know, how should I go about this? And then the actions that he takes. Yes, there's an episode to episode plot that happens, but the overall plot in this show being the revenge and the get back on those characters, and then you find out, and it evolving. I thought for what this show is, it was amazing, right? I think that this is probably one of the most solid anime for this kind of titles that you're going to get with this kind of plot. You know what I mean?
Agree. Well said. So
it's hard to kind of put this in a bag. Now, I will also say this is not perfect by any means. No. Because where you get with this show is that there are some drop balls that they do in this plot.
That's exactly what I mean.
Because I think that, man, I'm thinking about the human killer elves and whatnot, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, man, that was such a cool concept. But it's like they didn't. I feel like they dove into that almost too much, if that makes sense for that moment. And that kind of dulled the plot, because it was like, we got it, and you overemphasize that part of the plot.
Yep.
Which I know that's a timing thing, which also goes into pacing. But the amount of time that they spent on that part of the plot just felt off for me. But I do think that it's a very good plot. I gave it an 8.5.
I think it's necessary to show how despicable elves were, then to transition to Sasha, which I don't think they needed to do, but it's kind of good they did, you know, is how I feel about it. Tell, you are going to give us your thoughts on the characters. How did you feel about Light and the Light?
Light is an amazing character. I feel like Light was the epitome of what Get Back should be. but also the epitome of what a decent human being is. It's such a weird duality because he was like the darkest thing at times, but the most radiant at other moments, right? Great duality for a character. I think that some other characters were poorly fulfilled. Like they weren't given adequate roles or not adequate roles, but they just weren't given enough time to actually shine, but they were demonstrated to us, right? And by that, I will say, what's the character? Like Aoyuki, the cat character, right? Had moments to talk and things like that, but didn't really have really big moments to shine. That you could say that with quite a few of the higher up characters, because I think they're waiting for those moments for those characters to have their aha or voila moment. But man, Light was amazing, and the characters that you were supposed to hate, you hated them. So that's always a plus when you hate the characters you're supposed to hate, who are despicable. But I feel like that's more plot than the actual characters themselves. But the characters contribute to that a little bit. I didn't have a score for this before I came in here, so just bear with me for one second. I'm going to give you a score right now. I'm going to give the characters, because Light, I think, is a great character. I'm going to also give the characters an 8.
Interesting. Yeah, so let me start off with two things. Main character, brilliant. Very well done. Okay. I think, again, everything you said is spot on. His revenge tale is appropriate. His anger, his bitterness is appropriate. And the vitriolicness of his hatred is well earned, like well depicted and resonated with me because I'm with him. Like, do what you got to do. Kill these motherfuckers. Now, like you said, the characters you hate, you're supposed to hate. Those two factors, Light and the characters you're supposed to hate, are the best thing about the show because I fucking hate those motherfuckers. And they did such a great job of building that hatred for these characters. And I do think that's an important piece of what this story is and what this review or character section is. Because if they're not built up enough to where the hatred is viable, then you kind of feel like Light is just an asshole. Side tangent, and I just stick with me here. Me and my wife watched a show called Pluribus, which is an Apple TV show, which is probably top 10, probably top 5 TV shows of all time. So if you can get Apple TV, please watch Pluribus because it's a character piece. While it's a very unique story, because it's about, I'm not even gonna tell you what it's about. Just fucking watch it. It's a unique character piece, and there's a lot of times where you hate the main character, and there's a lot of times where you absolutely love her. But this character piece is just all about her character, and there's so much duality and depth to everything that goes on in the show. Is brilliant, and especially brilliant for people who are chronically online because it kind of proves like it's basically a live depiction of the internet, but in like positive way. When you watch it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I digress. I say that to say depicting a character with vitriolic hate has to go well with a character that you absolutely hate. Like he hates these characters, but do you hate these characters, Tell? Do you hate the elf? Do you hate the party that did this to Light?
I hated them.
You absolutely hate them, and that's very important for the characters. Now, for this other characters, his minions, they don't have any character. They're characters without character. And while they do have unique quirks, having a quirk isn't character, but that's what brings the score down to what it is for me personally, is the other characters not having really character. But everything else I talked about is what brings this up as high as it is for me, which I ranked it before you did, but I also gave it an 8 for that particular reason.
Yeah, I think we have a very similar perspective on that then, because I definitely think the characters you hate, and I always agree with you on that. When you hate characters the way you do, the way you're supposed to, in alignment with your MC,
Yep,
that's a good character. That's a good character.
You know my skill for that? ReZero. Our number one anime of all time, because they do that so well, and the character you're supposed to love, you absolutely love. That is the bar. So if you can
still want to get that Betelgeuse.
Exactly. if you can come anywhere near that bar, then I hate these fucking characters. So they did their thing. So that's why it's as high as it is as far as 8 goes. All right, let's talk about our overall scores here, Tel. I gave animation a 7. Tel gave it an 8. I gave sound design an 8. Tel gave it an 8. Pacing, I gave it a 6.5. Tel gave it a 7.5. Plot, I gave it an 8.5. Tel gave it an 8.5. Characters, I gave it an 8. Tel gave it an 8, which makes my overall score a 7.6, which makes Tel overall score an 8, which makes Mike Check Waifu score 7.8. So, to me, personally, that's why I love this review skill, because I deem it to be perfect as far as ranking shows go. Now, this does put it relatively low on our list here.
Let's see here.
This places it under Tokyo Revengers, which I don't believe at all. But that's Tokyo Revengers season 1. And
the average score for this show is a 70.
Okay, so we're a little bit higher. I think a 7.8 is, honestly, and this is me being honest, I think a 7.8 is where I felt it was before we got into this review.
7.8, 7.6. I think, because I wasn't sure where this was going to land. And I tried to be more spontaneous with my scores, because I felt like I was being judged for having my scores too soon. Before we started the show.
I prefer you do it that way, actually.
But, man, I do feel like a 7.6 is pretty solid, actually.
Yeah. Overall wise, though, let's you know what? Look, we haven't done this in a while, so let me do that. Starting from number 46, and I'm gonna work my way up to what our top reviews are. Okay, Hall of Shame, Demon Lord retries, a negative score. That was a fun little thing we did way back in the day. Negative 7.75. That's appropriate though. But at number 46, 91 Days is at a 6.4, appropriate. 45, Roka and the Braves of the Six Flowers is a 6.55. 44, Ardaman and On the Sky is 6.8. 43 is Banana Fish at a 7.3. Love Flops is at 42 with a 7.45. Demon Lord 2099 is at a 7.45 at 41. Babysitters, which is way better show than anything above it, probably. No, not really, but close. School Babysitters is a 7.55. And number 39 is Getting Married to the Girl in My Class at 7.7. Suzune, which is a movie, 7.75 at 38. Dr. Stone at 37, 7.8, which is way higher now, I believe, if we was to review it now. I digress. 36. My Gift Level, 9,999, is at a 7.8 as well. 35, Tokyo Revengers, 7.85. My Hero Season 4, 7.9. Gangsta, 7.95. Chivalry of a Fell Knight, 7.95. Bungo Stray Dogs at 8.4. Invincible, 8.45. Link Click, 8.45. Darwin's Game, 8.5. Made in Abyss, 8.5. Demon Slayer, the Entertainment District arc is at an 8.5. Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village arc is at an 8.65. 24, Vox Machina, 8.6. Steins Gate is 8.65. Aka 13 is at an 8.7. Two Perfect Saint is at 8.7. Erased, 8.75. Beastars, 8.85, which is still too too fucking high. To me, the one you loved, and to you, everyone you loved before, is an 8.85. Demon Slayer is Demon Slayer first season is at 8.8. Log Horizon all 3 seasons 8.9, which I believe is correct. Bottom tier character season 2 8. Season 2, or is that both seasons?
I think that's just season 2.
Oh, bottom tier character Tomazaki-san, Kun or whatever it was, 8.95. Windbreaker 9.2. That's season 1 of Windbreaker. Arcane is at a 9.2, which is the first season. Vinland Saga 9.25, which is the first season. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash 9.3. Fire Force first season 9.35. My Teen Romantic Comedy, the whole series, is 9.45. Too Many Losing Heroines 9.5. Lord of Mysteries 9.55. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity 9.55 in our top 5. Number 5, A Place Further Than A Place Further Than Universe is a 9.7. Number 4 is JJK, season 1 is a 9.8. Number 3 is Clannad at a 9.8. Number 2 is Astro Lost in Space at a 10. And last but certainly not least, our number 1 rated anime is at a 10 as well, which is Summertime Rendering. Interesting stuff, man.
I was doing that because Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity 9.55. I think Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity
Appropriate.
Is fucking phenomenal. And it's one of the ones that, as a newer watch, that I just feel like, man, that has made a spot in my heart.
It truly does hold up to that score. Like, wholeheartedly holds up to that. And I believe that it's going to get better if it gets another season. I really do believe that.
Agreed.
But that wraps episode 332. I'm at Polow Born Fly on all social media.
I'm at King Telliano on all social media.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube Mic Check Waifu. No, youtube.com/Mic Check Waifu and youtube.com/@RespectGames. And as always, Mic Check.
Boom, 333 next week.
You're now tuned into Mic Check Waifu. Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you?